Joe Lunardi has done some 2025 NCAA Tournament bracketology. Don't ask me how he knows anything of this because the transfer portal isn't even done yet. But here he is trying it out, and so he has listed 9 Big 10 teams in the tournament. So I'll go ahead and list them really fast. Number 3 seed Purdue, number 5 seed Michigan State. Wowzer, do they have a big man yet? I don't think so. That's not going to happen until they get a big man. Anyway, I'm a known Michigan State hater, so if you guys don't know that. But number 5, Rutgers. Do they have anybody but their freshmen? I don't think so, but we'll move on from there. Number 6, Ohio State. Number 6, Illinois. Number 7, Nebraska. Number 7, Wisconsin. Number 8, Indiana. Number 8, Maryland. I could list off numerous things that's wrong with this. Not only that, but also the next 4 out teams that he has. He has Minnesota on the next 4 out. He does not have any of these Pac-12 teams coming in. Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington. I can kind of get Washington and Oregon. A little bit of questions there with Altman and Sprinkle. Of course, Altman did get. They were almost in, right? They weren't in the tournament this year. They
made
get a
it.
playing game. Oh, they did make it?
Yeah.
They did make it, yeah.
Okay. What were they, like an 11 seed or something like that? They were barely in, weren't they? It was something like that. But anyway,
they crawled
in. So they won the tournament.
Yeah.
So they would have been 10 or 11, something like that.
Yeah. So none of them even close is what Joe Lunardi is predicting here. Zod, I think I could do it for you, but you'll go ahead. Let Joe Lunardi know what he's got wrong here.
I've been on the record before stating I've not been a huge fan of Joe Lunardi's bracketology in the past as well. So I will go on the record again and state that again. But in all seriousness, I do expect UCLA to be a tournament team next season, especially with the ads that we already have. Plus, if we do get a true post player, I could see us going anywhere from like a 4 to an 8 seed. I'm not saying we're going to be making a national championship run or anything, but I do expect Cronin to get this team into good enough shape to be a tournament team. Not doing so would probably result in his departure. And I think he knows that. And I think he's very highly motivated to make sure that doesn't happen. I also think Oregon, despite the question marks, is a team that generally, like Dana Altman, cobbles together rosters every year. Mm-hmm. Has been hitting the transfer portal hard for a while, and somehow gets into the tournament. So I would not be surprised if Oregon manages to do that again. They always have talent. Just a question of does the talent gel in time? And generally, he gets it done. So I do think UCLA or UCLA for sure, I would expect to be in the tournament next season. Oregon, there's a good chance of that happening. UW is interesting, with Sprinkle coming in. I think there's a lot of question marks there. I think he's pulling over some guys from Utah State that I think will be effective. I think Tyler Bilodeau, I mentioned earlier, UCLA is going after him. If he can land him, that's a big talent add right there as well. We'll see what they look like. USC, I'm not trying to be a hater or anything here just because they're our rival, but I don't see it. I don't even know who they have on the team anymore. They have like 2 players on the roster.
Did they get a couple Arkansas guys?
Yep.
Yeah, I think they've pulled a couple of guys. Yeah, it's going to be a work in progress. I think, Eric Musselman has his work cut out for him next season. I think he's a good coach. I think he'll be able to turn them around in a couple of years, but next season for sure, I don't see it.
Yeah, I think.
So yeah, that's my quick.
Personally, is like a top 3, top 5 coach in the Big Ten right now. That could change if he doesn't do so well, but yeah, but I'm there with you, Zod. Unless I see some bigger additions, Musselman's going to have his work cut out for him this year. Oops, meant to go to Philip here.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a minute. Or go ahead, Zod.
I was just going to say, SC's interesting. Just like basketball at that school, the institutional support for it has been lacking for a very long time. Now, Getting Musselman there, I think, is a big win for them. He's probably been their best X's and O coach for maybe ever, right? I think Andy Enfield was a hell of a recruiter. He got a lot of talent there, but he just could never actually get a team to play well. I think Musselman will recruit pretty well there and get the team in good shape. We'll just see how they compete on the NIL front. We'll see if he burns those bridges there. I feel like Eric Musselman has a reputation for running his course very quickly with programs. So we'll see how that happens, if that happens at all there. But yeah, I don't see them as a tournament team next season.
Work cut out for him, like you said,
for sure.
TJ, for sure. Philip is saying what I was going to bring up here in a minute, but since he brought it up, I'll just go ahead and say it. With 18 teams, only 9 seems low coming out of the Big Ten, especially with some of these additions that are coming through the transfer portal. I tend to agree. I would think it'd be somewhere closer to like 10 or 11 teams, like we said, UCLA being added in there, possibly maybe an Oregon team, maybe Minnesota team, something like that. I don't think I'm probably missing somebody off the top of my head, but I mean, those kind of teams being added in there, I could definitely see happening, getting the Big Ten to 9 or to 10 or 11 teams. TJ, what are your thoughts on Joe Lunardi's Big Ten selections, or just his selections in general with the bracketology?
Right, yeah. UCLA certainly seems like a notable omission to me. Of the ones that he included in the field, the 2 that I would be quite surprised if they reach the level that they're currently projected would be Rutgers, given I know they have a talented freshman class coming in. It's only a couple of players, and they've lost quite a bit of veteran leadership and veteran talent. That even with those guys, that team was a disaster this past season. I don't really see currently a roster that would be capable of reaching the tournament, certainly not at the seed that Joe Lunardi had him at. The second one that I think is a bit generous right now is Nebraska. Keisei Tominaga was relied on for so much. He's gone. Kyle Wilcher, reliable piece for them as well. And Alec, reliable energy guy for them. Those guys are gone. They have added some players through the portal. I do not think they've added anything close to replacing the threat that Tominaga was. He, not only his scoring, but just having him out there required so much attention from the defense that it helped the other players really be able to have open looks with, lower level defenders put on them. Everybody has to step up a level without that kind of anchor on your offense. So I think that Nebraska could reach that. They're going to require a lot of development from the returning players, and I think they're going to have to hit a couple of home runs in the portal. Somebody like a Frankie Fiddler, amazing name, from Omaha there. He's the type of offensive force, at least from an efficiency standpoint, at a lower level, that if he can translate that up, and if he goes to Nebraska, that would be something that would change my mind. But right now, I don't see it with Nebraska, and I don't see it with Rutgers. But I do think that Big Ten ends up with something like 10 to 11 teams ultimately. Just, it's going to be important for the league to have a good non-conference, because obviously your metrics kind of set themselves, and the schedule is going to be such that a team might not have quite as many good opportunities to get those quad one wins as you would think they would, because maybe you've got a schedule draw that sees you only playing, the top of the league one time, and you're playing the bottom of the league, those quad 2, quad 3 games multiple times. You might be able to rack up wins that are empty. They don't mean much for your resume. So it's going to be important for the league to have a good non-conference, which they have struggled to do at times. But it's so weird to talk about 9 teams as being low. We're just going to have to reset kind of our mental expectations for how many teams in the tournament is a good number for a league. The bigger these leagues get, those numbers change.
Yeah, Philip brings up a good point here. Nebraska did add the goggles, Gavin Griffith. Unfortunately, he will not be the same player that Kasai Tamanaga was.
I think he
makes
shot.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure
I mean,
about that?
28%
like I said,
last
unless he
year.
makes some major improvements, but
Average, 6 points a game?
He just didn't get the chances, TJ. That's why.
That's right, because Rutgers had so many good offensive weapons. He was
You give him the
limited.
ball, you just let him cook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kent, man, you tell me, and then you can get into your bracketology talk here. Do we really see a world where new coach Jake Diebler, and I'm not hating on Jake Diebler. I love me some Jake Diebler. Okay. I want to make that very clear. I love me some Jake Diebler, but are we really looking at a situation here where brand new coach Jake Diebler gets Ohio State to a 6 seed, and Dusty May, who is reincarnating Florida Atlantic into Michigan as we speak, misses the tournament, doesn't even get a bubble watch scenario? I mean, I know this Michigan team was bad, but when you bring the talent over, Vlad Golden and John Al Davis, like people think, obviously it hasn't happened yet, but like people think is going to happen. Can you really say that Ohio State's more likely to be in the tournament over Michigan? Kent, your thoughts?
I can't say that, and neither can Joe Lunardi at this point. We're a week and a half away. Like the tournament just ended. Like there's multiple things, like so many things are going to happen from now until the beginning of next year. Like he for sure cannot predict, like this is going to look so dumb next year. All of these picks, I think, are going to look dumb. Like it's way too early to decide any of this. He needs to leave it for the idiots on Twitter like myself to do stuff like this. That's what I should be doing this, not Joe Lunardi. This is crazy. You're
giving Lunardi too much credit. I think he is an elevated idiot on Twitter. That's just as an ESPN.
Oh, that's where I'm trying to get to. I want to be
like
him, an elevated idiot. I would love to be known as that, an elevated idiot. That's perfect. No, but that's a good point, JR. I think that Michigan could be in the conversation for a tournament, especially there's just so many ifs right now. Like they got the FAU guy coming to visit like this weekend. So like if they pick him up and they get it big and they can keep, I don't know who they're going to keep. Hopefully, like nobody, because their team was terrible this year.
Jace Howard's coming back.
Jace Howard, yeah. Again, just did not get the opportunities. He could be the next Tominaga, type guy. But here's what I'm going to do just to make it quick, even though I've already been long-winded. I'm going to take 3 teams out that he had in, and I'm going to add 3 just to make it simple and just say that it's going to be 9 next year. I'm taking Michigan State out right now, just like you mentioned, JR. With the roster that they have right now, they were... Like, if they lose the Northwestern game this year, which that was a very injured Northwestern team that they beat at home by 4, that's what launched them into the tournament this year. A 4-point win against a really bad Northwestern team. They haven't added anybody to that. So they barely made it this year. I don't see how you can say they're going to make a 5 next year with no ads so far. So I'm taking them out off the top. And then I'm taking out team that TJ just mentioned, Nebraska. I don't think that they can make it next year, just plain and simple. And then I'm also taking out Wisconsin. I don't think that they'll make it this year, and mainly because I'm so upset with them for the terrible performance in my March Madness bracket. I'm taking them out. I hope I don't have to make that decision next year. So Wisconsin, you're out as well. And here's the 3 teams I'm going to add. UCLA, we've already talked about enough, so UCLA, you're in. And then 2 teams that are doing it a different way than UCLA and a different way than most of college basketball. They're actually keeping guys around for another year. It's going to be Minnesota making the tournament next year. And it's also going to be Northwestern is going to make the tournament. The best coach in the Big Ten, Chris Collins, is not missing the tournament next year. So those are the 3 that I'm going to add.
I love it. I would love to see Elijah Hawkins in the tournament as well. I need his like little skippy feet going all around, being quicker than everybody else. And
I need it, dude. They're bringing back like almost everybody. Minnesota's gonna look good next year.
I know. We were talking earlier. We had Ali Babala on Mike and talking about like, oh, is it possible you could lose Garcia? Is it possible you could lose Christie? And all these guys are coming back. Like, yes, you lost Farrell Payne, but like. Yeah. At the end of the day, you keep Cam Christie, future NBA player, the guy that Michigan State fans hate because he is exactly who the other Christie brother was supposed to be for them, but he never turned out to be. And Dawson Garcia, who apparently wasn't playing at the end of the year because he was too busy talking to other teams, but turns out he was playing because he wants to stick around Minnesota. Like, I mean, now the NIL check may have helped with that. Who knows? But at the end of the day, like, I mean, this is huge for Minnesota. I'm with you, Ken. I think Minnesota
and Parker Fox, by the way, he's back too.
Parker Fox,
yeah, he's back.
He's huge.
Don't forget.
So
don't forget about Parker.